Good evening and welcome to round 2 of season 2 of the GT4 Championship hosted by IFWL and HSR Motorsport. And right now we are watching Mr. Liam Turner blasting it down the straight, pit straight it's called, into the affectionately named Hell Corner. Jumping on board with the good sir himself in a right-hand drive vehicle, going past one of the Stooges vehicles, throwing it into Quarry Bend. Unlike a lot of our streams where it's wet and miserable, we have a nice sunny, actually fair weathered conditions for today's race with 19 degrees centigrade. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't skip on your sun cream. Make sure you always cover up with sunblock. There's your safety moment of today's race. But that leaves us with a scorching temperature of 26 degrees. So I wouldn't recommend laying on that bareback. So, speaking of all things racing and less bareback, we're still watching Mr. Turner taking it down the mountain very safely indeed. And he comes flying down Conrad Straight. This straight goes on for an eternity. And this is probably one of the very few places to overtake on this circuit. Your main areas are coming up down Conrad Straight, and if anyone were to make any, God forbid, any mistakes coming through this section called the Chase, any people following in the trail of said racer making a mistake could then take advantage leading up to Murray's Corner, which is the last corner before the pit straight. And right now, Mr. Turner is just 2/10, just shy of 2/10 off of the trendsetter, that is Mr. Visor, in car number 997, McLaren. Right now you're watching a Ginetta. Mr. Turner's go-to from last season's racing. Very colourful livery indeed, sporting the traditional colour set that IFWL use in their liveries. And if I beg to be corrected, I believe it's Mr. Raddenbury who works on the colours and liveries for these vehicles. And I believe he was racing in last season. I didn't see him in the top 10 this season just yet, but I'm sure we will hear more of that good gentleman. Oh, Mr. Turner, steady on there. Oh, and he's taking a good look at Cleanaway. So if you need any cleaning services, I believe that's a cleaning service, maybe a windscreen wash, who knows. And there he goes, back to pits. And the paddock is brought to you by BT? No, not British Telecom. BP Ultimate. And there you can see in the foreground is Mr. Fox in his rather quick Aston Martin, and Mr. Pryor just leaving the pits and also in a Ginetta there. So let's not bore you with any more pit talk. Let's jump on board with Mr. Craddock. Oh, what is going on there? Who was that? That was a Mr. Yates. It's like the end of a conga line, isn't it? Wow. So, back to Mr. Craddock, who is taking it nice and conservatively going down the mountain right now. So this particular section is called Skyline into the S's. So let's get a better view, because it's way too quick going through this section here. And this is Forest's Elbow. Bit of a nightmare when it comes to understeer, so you must get your line dead right so you get the best exit speed out of that corner down the Conrod Straight. Now I have heard down the grapevine, not that this is in grape country or anything, in sunny Australia, but the middle of the track is the best position for GT3 cars at least, to avoid all the humps and bumps, because it is a bit of a turbulent ride. A little bit like taking the flight back from the US to the UK. That can get a bit hairy. But anyway. Here comes Mr. Craddock out of Murray's corner and down the pit straight now. Let's just witness one of his glorious laps. Very good exit out of Quarry Bend there, leading up the hill toward the cutting. Traditional line coming through and onto Griffin's Mount, which then leads onto Reed Park. And then we'll be leading onto Solomon Park, which is pretty much a flat out affair on the throttle. Though, if Mr. Craddock is still warming his tyres up, he may want to be a little bit more cautious on the throttle, as you witnessed there. So as he comes down through Skyline and into the S's, slowly downshifting into third, a very well placed dashboard there, into second. And you can really witness the live feed of the vehicle telemetry. Oh, a little kiss of the barrier there. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of that during today's race. And whisking it very quickly down into second gear for this corner, or third, depending on your preferences of rotation coming out of the corner. Is he going to squeeze fifth coming up to this? Yes, he is. Third corner. Currently in 20th in practice, which now takes him up to, well, 20th. Still 20th. That's a very good lap there, Mr. Craddock. Thank you for displaying your prowess on the circuit today. Looking forward to seeing more of your work. But not that. Not that. So, jumping on board with Mr. Hayton. So for those watching right now, I am going to take some time to update any liveries before our qualifying session and for the race. So if you don't see your wonderful colours on screen, fear not, because it will get updated. Okay, jumping on board. Oh dear. Well, the car had a little experiment in quantum theory there on the stream. Just a small little glitch. But we're back in action. So. So if my memory serves me correctly, this is Mr. Hayton's first foray into the GT4 Championship here with HSR and IFWL. We'll take a look at the standings shortly. And there we have it. Hayton puts himself in 11th. Ready to start another practice lap and finessing the most optimal setup for today's weather. Doesn't look like we're due any rain. Nice clear skies, so the drivers have that on their sides for a predictable setup to choose for today's race. But who knows? Will it be hosted at night? Will it be hosted in apocalyptic thunderstorms? Oh, don't let me let you get twitchy, Hayton. Don't worry, it's still sunny for now. You keep driving, sir. You're doing a grand job. So, as I promised, here are some race standings. So, last week we saw some very... how shall I put it? Last week was very sketchy with the wet weather at Suzuka. In turn 1, we saw quite a lot of upset between the leading pack of drivers, seeing Topinka, who's usually a front runner for the GT3 series with HSR Motorsport, was put down to 9th position. So it wasn't his best race, and the same goes for Craig Hewlett, who is usually up in the top spot, but this time we see him not even appearing on the top 10 list. So we'll find out later what if it was a car choice or it was just the curse of Suzuka. So looking at the top 10 standings for the gold category or the pro category, we've got Sven Parr with 26 points, so he demonstrated quite a fast lap time, so which earned him an extra point in his class, followed by Hanak in 2nd and Ostracharts in 3rd. Sven is also new to this particular race series. I haven't seen him appear in any of the HSR races actually. So he's done an incredible job in last race. Very consistent, had a very relaxing race. After that turn 1 incident, there was a hell of a lot more cars that ended up in the scrap heap almost. So yeah, there's the standings. I don't want to say all the names out loud, but to those that are new on the grid, welcome. So taking a look at silver, Van Dam is another new entry into this season. Car number 27, the Flying Dutchman, is driving a Ginetta, also sporting the fastest lap time in his category as well. Congratulations, sir. And then as you scroll down the list here, we see a few familiar names. Mr. Pennell in car number 11 driving a Mercedes is also new, so welcome to the HSR Motorsport and IFWL.net team up with GT4 Racing. And also we have a disqualification that came out of last week's race, so that's very sad to see so early on in the championship. And then taking a look at bronze standings, we have a HSR regular, Aaron Manship, car number 999, also a Ginetta. That seems to be a very popular choice with the GT4 series. And we have a newcomer, Mr. Mitkus, in car number 89 driving a Cayman, followed by Yates, Worth, Kramer, Conti, Curtis, Mello, Turbinov and Stoppel. So there we have the standings. In case you missed last week, we had Suzuka on the 7th of August. And today, in case you need to check your calendars, it's August 14th. Today's going to be a 60-minute race. And the usual setup with an hour's worth of practice. Then we have 20 minutes of qualifying. 10 minutes for bronze and silver category drivers. Followed by the last 10 minutes for all gold category drivers only out on the circuit. Today we're going to be seeing a very limited pit window as well. I haven't taken the liberty of checking that information, but I'm sure that you are going to see a very quick turnaround of vehicles diving into the pit lane, which if you were confused, I hope you are not confused anymore. So there we have it. There's the race information. Jumping back over to the race, and we're still looking at... Who are we looking at? So we're looking at Mr. Hewlett, aren't we? And there he is, sporting the lovely new livery. Let's go and take a look at that a bit closer, shall we? So, jumping out of the car. Lovely paintwork, lovely job. I believe it was Martin Misch that helped with the, or actually created this design for this vehicle. It's very well put together. Well done, sir. I believe he has a neighbour, and he does. And it's Mr. Hanak with the Lightning McQueen themed Rusty's Porsche. Yeah, the trusty Porsche. Okay, so jumping over to one of our drivers that's currently out pulling some laps. Let's take a look at Matt Jordan, who is about to make the climb up the mountain. Jordan is, well, seems to be the only Camaro out on the circuit today. Oh, he took that corner a little bit hard, didn't he? Oh, a little bit of takeoff coming out through onto Skyline there. Oh, and he's eaten a barrier. This time he fancied a bit of coat hire. I think Skyline is going to be the hotspot for accidents today. So, for all the drivers watching or listening right now, please don't tell your insurance company. I'm sure they would not like to hear how you bent your bonnet in, especially on Skyline. So, we are on board with Kanani now, who is also about to tackle Skyline, that notorious hump. Let's jump on board, because it seems the cameras can't keep up, can they? So there goes Kanani. Flying down Conrod Straight now. Gorgeous V8 sound coming out of that car right now. Kanani's coming out onto the pit straight now. And he's currently in 6th in today's practice. Well done. Some great driving there. It's quicker than me. I'm just stood in my commentary room. And if for anyone interested in my welfare, it is overcast, but still very, very wet, very sweaty. I suppose that's British summertime now, isn't it? Some looming clouds. Nothing like sunny Bathurst. Oh, watch out for that guy. Can't park there. Mr. Davies. Tut, tut, tut. Anyway, so Mr. Kanani is coming up the hill, tackling the mountain once again. So back to my welfare. I've got a fan blowing on my backside. Making sure I'm getting all that cool air up my shorts. There's nothing more important than circulating air around that region. So let's have a look at another one of our drivers. We have a Mr. Warburton, who is out in his trusty Aston Martin with the Stooges livery. This one was created by none other than our resident Texan, John Mello. He is also sporting this livery along with Aaron Manchip. And all three of them are racing in the amateur category today, or the bronze category. There we have Hanak in the foreground, just coming up the mountain. And if anyone wondered, well, this particular circuit is actually in New South Wales, if you hadn't gathered it from the posters and the banners. Here comes Warburton, just coming over the crest of the mountain now. Very gentle on the throttle there, very calculated moves. Coming into fourth, down into third, and then second at this corner. Or not, no, he's relying on the low end torque to get him down the hill, which it did. Fantastic footwork. He made that look very effortless indeed. So at the moment it's looking like Mr. Warburton is heading for a 9th position time in today's practice. And of course, with the fast track conditions, we're not aiming for fastest laps per se. Be nice to have, but we're aiming more for consistency and learning and fine-tuning everything and anything to do with Bathurst. So if you're just joining us, you're watching the GT4 Championship season number 2, which today round 2 is at Bathurst in sunny Australia. And this event is hosted by HSR Motorsport and ifwl.net. Shout out to those who are on track, and shout out to those in the socials. Hello, good morning, good evening to everyone, wherever you are racing in the world. Mr. Warburton is absolutely smashing it down Conrod Straight. Coming up to the chase. And there you get a clear sight of the Stooges on the roof. And Mr. Warburton returns to the pits. So jumping on board with Mr. Hosco, who is racing in the monstrous energy, Monster Energy livery. Also driving the Porsche Cayman. As he prepares for a new practice lap. Oh, someone's just exiting the pits. Is he going to let him past? Nah. Yeah, he let him past. Oh. Are you squeezing Mr. Hosco straight after coming out of the pits? You naughty, naughty man. Anywho, let's jump on board with Sven and watch that from an interior view, because this is just a little insight of what it's going to look like in today's race. Bumper to bumper, you can barely see the circuit in front. Sven's giving him a little bit of space as they prepare for Skyline. Oh, someone's got a little detour there. Oh, bit of barrier loving. Hosco and Port are still smashing it down the mountain right now. About to begin their descent onto Conrod Straight. And Hosco concedes and allows the tailgater to pass and prepare for his first lap. You know, that's not too dissimilar to my experience of driving in the Dolomites in Italy. Coming down the mountain, it's like you have other drivers glued to your backside. And no, I didn't have them on tow either. They must all be fantastic drivers. Anyway. Enough of my complaints of Italian drivers in the Dolomites. Sven is starting an out lap himself. Well, starting a proper lap. And there's Hosco in the background. So I'll leave you to watch this poetry in motion. Just having a few technical difficulties, so bear with me, I shall be right back. So we are back. And still looking at Mr. Turner in the paddock. Let's have a look at our good sir, Mr. Mayor, who is driving in a McLaren. Following Mitkus, who's in a Porsche Cayman. That's car number 40 if you can't quite make out the text. Ooh, very tail happy coming up that hill. Let's get a little bit more of an open shot. Oh, and Mitkus has eaten the wall. Good thing we got practice. And you see a nice little detail on Mr. Mayor's roof of the South African flag. And he takes a very wise move, coming down Skyline into S's. Oh! Oh no! He's eaten a bit of wall. Oh! Oh! And Mitkus too! Oh no! Oh no! Trees in the way. So, good thing we got the practice, as we said, because we are going to have a lot more scenarios like that in today's race. It's a very, very technical bit of the circuit. Not to be taken lightly at all. Let's take a look at Mr. McElwain. Woo! Oh, he's flipped his car! He flipped his car! Let's take another look at that, shall we? So, he's coming down into the chase. I do apologise, that went a little bit far back. I just want to make sure I capture all the action in case he did hit Murray's corner. Oh, there he goes, Murray's corner, and he's on his back like a Hot Wheel, skidding across back in the pit. Well, that was an amusing sequence of events. It's not often you see a car flip on its back. So, let's take a look at another driver. Let's take a look at Mr. Hewlett, who is going up the mountain at the moment, going fairly sideways. And he approaches Skyline. Lovely control. Opting for a second gear down into S's. And into Dipper. And now he's at Forest Elbow. And it looks like Mr. Hewlett has stuck with the Alpine in today's race. May I remind our viewers today that the penalty that is associated with switching your car mid-season is quite costly, so this is why our drivers need to make very calculated decisions about their particular car, whether it suits their driving style. And as we saw last week, and a little bit of this week, oh, steady there, Craig. Sometimes the car just doesn't agree with your driving style, but I'm sure Mr. Hewlett, driving his chariot of victory, will figure it out in good time. And it seems like I have done the commentator's curse on Mr. Hewlett, and he's gone a little bit camera shy. So let's go back to Mr. McElwain, who flipped on his back like a turtle earlier. Let's go back into Helicam, because I do like watching this from atop. Sometimes it just gets a little bit too fast and a bit too giddy in the cockpit view. And here you get to see a lot more of the countryside. But no, I don't think you want to see that. I think you want to see the interior. You want to hear the meat of the engine. Goes McElwain, heading up towards Murray's Corner. Is he going to avoid a repeat of last time? Yes, he is. There he goes, nice and clean out. And he's currently sporting a 2 minute and 15 seconds and just shy of 3/10 in today's practice. And just as a reminder, this is only 7 minutes and 10 seconds away from starting the qualifier. Track conditions have now turned optimum, which means our drivers are going to get a better feeling of what that traction is going to be like. And as a result, we might see some faster practice times. So come on, chaps and chapettes, let's see what you got. And Mr. McElwain is firmly in 23rd in the current practice standing. Let's jump over to another driver. Let's jump over to Mr. Massey. He's driving the Aston Martin. He's coming down Conrod Straight at the moment. And he's currently 12th in the practice standings. It feels like this straight goes on for an eternity. So, Massey in car number 44 comes through into the chase. Onto Murray Corner. I do fear that Murray Corner is going to see a lot of turtles on their backs today. And what is Massey going to do with this? He handles it very nicely. Comes out over the straight and he is still firmly in 12th in practice. Consistent race pace. And there we have Reynolds in the background, who is also from IFWL. So let's have a little on board with Mr. Reynolds. Oh, I do apologise, he comes from Open League Racing, actually. And Massey lets Reynolds past. And we're at 3 minutes and 30 mark. Very close to qualifying start time. Oh, Reynolds 8 barrier. No! Less of that, sir. That's it. Have a nice little picnic in the grass there. Perhaps transport back to pit. Yeah, there he goes. Lovely, lovely. So, a few more minutes. Let's have a little look at some other drivers on the circuit. Let's have a look at a HSR regular, Mr. Bubbins, who is driving a BMW. I believe one of two in the whole series, actually. That's a rather tasty livery he's wearing at the moment. Not too dissimilar to the structure of the M Sport logo that BMW have. Just a little less red. And there he goes, flying up the mountain. Let's jump on board. Oh, commentator's curse. Sorry, Mr. Bubbins. Keep going. We didn't see that. Just keep going. It's just a flesh wound. Just keep driving. So if you're still wondering how on earth you landed at watching this broadcast and what it's about, it's the GT4 Championship, second round of Season 2, and it's in Bathurst in Australia, and it's being hosted by HSR Motorsport and IFWL.net. And the skies have blessed us with some very stable weather conditions, so let's hope that stays for the rest of qualifying and race. Oh, a little bit of a wobble there from Bubbins as he comes out of chase. On to Murray. How does he tackle this corner? He handles that corner very well indeed. So, I must disappear for a few moments, so I'm going to leave you with a brief interlude while I make sure I've got everyone's liveries ready for today's race. But don't go anywhere. I shall see you very shortly for the start of qualifying. And welcome back. Told you it wouldn't be long. I was getting my refreshments and getting myself refreshed, if you know what I mean. So we are all on our outlaps at the moment, getting ready for some qualifying. This is going to be intense, boys. So let's jump on board with Reese McElwain. I decided to go a bit posh today with my my apple juice. Usually I drink it out of a carton, but today I put it in a glass. Because, you know what, I'm posh. So, Mr. McElwain is taking turn 1, slightly sideways, but nothing he can't handle. Coming up a mountain straight. Some very clean racing there, he says, as he comes in slightly sideways in through that bend. He is coming onto Solomon Park now. And this is McPhillamy Park and on to Skyline. Oh, you can't park there, Turbanov. McElwain handles Skyline very well. Jump to his interior for the intensity up to 100. Coming into Forest Elbow. And the hard part is done. Smashing down Conrod Straight. Taking the gorgeous aerial shot of their Porsche flying down. Track temperatures are not too dissimilar to practice. And once again, the Executive Chair Committee of the weather has decided it's going to be sunny. So, Mr. McElwain, let's not get a repeat of Murray Corner last time. Coming through, smashing it over the line, and what does he get? He manages 2nd place. And that puts him less than a tenth behind Mr. Fox, who's currently in a 2:15. So, jumping on board with Mitkus, car number 89. He is currently parked and stopped. Now he's off again. So let's let him get warmed up for another lap. Let's jump on board with Mr. Redhead now. He is tackling the downhill section of the circuit, coming onto Conrod Straight. And there you can see Mr. Warburton lurking in the background with the Stooges livery. Oh, Mr. Kanani has just taken 1st place. Pole position off of Mr. Yates' hands, who is in amateur or bronze category. So well done, that's the 2nd place for Mr. Yates. And that puts Redhead in 3rd. Mr. Warburton in 2nd. It's a proper shuffle going on right now. There we go, there we go. Mr. Fox is coming down Conrod Straight and then onto Chase, heading towards Murray Corner. He is looking at half a second knocked off his personal best, but is that going to translate into a time which is going to rival? I don't think so. It's going to put him 5th. No, it's not quite. 6th position. There's a few drivers at the moment who haven't yet made a valid lap. Looks like Mr. Mello is just making his way down Comrod Straight. I'm always catching these cars on Comrod, aren't I? So, Mr. Hosco, I believe, is on climbing up the mountain. There we go. We have some shot where we can see the intense downhill section. So, Mr. Hosco just approaching Skyline. Pushing his car to the limit. There he goes. Tuck it in nicely. Oh, watch that backhand coming round that wall. There he goes. Tucking it in nice and close towards Comrod Straight. Excellent work. Excellent work. So Mr. McElwain has just taken, well, a minute ago he took 2nd place off of Mr. Warburton. And not too far in front of Mr. Hosco is actually Mr. Warburton himself, currently in 3rd. But what is he going to do as he comes over the line? Is he going to take a position off of Mr. Kanani's hands? He does not. He battles with Mr. McElwain for 3rd. But instead replaces Mr. McElwain, so now he becomes 4th, and Mr. Redhead takes 2nd. And Hosco lands 10th position. We currently have just over a minute left of the qualifying session for our bronze and silver drivers. As it stands, we have Kanani in pole position, followed by Redhead in 2nd with 8/10 behind, followed by Mr. Warburton with 1 second behind Mr. Kanani. So that's a pole position for category for Mr. Warburton, followed by McElwain, who is sporting third place on the grid for Pro-Am category or silver, and Manchip is 5th overall but 2nd for category on the grid today. So let's take a look at Mr. Fox, who is just starting his outlap, or starting a fast lap. I do apologise. Making the arduous climb up the hill. So let's just take a look at Mr. Reynolds, who is actually on a very fast lap right now. He's just coming out of Murray Corner, and where does that put him? Puts him 5th place. And that's it. The whistle has blown for our bronze and silver drivers. The gold drivers are now due out on the circuit. And there is our first one, Mr. Pryor, followed by Ostracharts, driving a Martini livery. That also easy to pick out distinct colourings. Jumping on board with Manchip now. This is a... Oof, that was a bit of barrier contact there. And... oh dear, oh dear, oh, Mr. Manchip. That was close. Well parked, sir. Well parked. Okay, so let's jump on board with some of our pro drivers who are now out on the circuit. Let's jump on board with, well, Mr. Hewlett's currently in the pit. Let's jump on board with Visor. Visor is just coming down the bottom of the hill. I do apologise. He is at the bottom of the hill now. And he is driving the McLaren. There he comes. Let's jump on board. See what Murray Corner looks like from a McLaren. Let's try and get the full set today. Okay, so Bjorn is about to set a very competitive lap time. There goes Weiser coming up and over the hill. So whilst that's going on, Sven Poor is actually, well, he's currently leading the pack. Oof. He is pushing his car to the limit. And just in the background, I believe, was Mr. Turner in the Ginetta. So we will see those positions switch very quickly, considering they are in gold category. So we're going to see quite the jump up the placings, putting the silver and bronze further down the list. So he goes through Chase. Going under the Liquimally Bridge and onto Murray Corner. And we are going to see what lap time he lands himself with. He has landed himself on pole. And just behind him you have Mr. Turner. No, you don't. You have someone else. Who was it? It was Mr. Visor. Of course it was. Excellent work. So let's take a look at Ostra charts. He's next to come over the line. I do apologise, it's not a Martini livery because it doesn't have the Martini decals on it. But it puts Ostra charts in 4th position on the grid. We still have a Pro-Am lurking at the very front. Mr. Kanani, who is a very, very talented and skilled driver. Let's take a look at Mr. Hanak, who is just coming out of Murray Corner. And he manages a invalid lap. Oh, okay. So let's have a look at the next car behind. And it looks like we have an imposter on the circuit, Mr. Pryor. Mr. Pryor, you should not be on the circuit, sir. You are 4 minutes and 20 seconds left. Naughty. Naughty, naughty. So, jumping over to Mr. Turner, who is coming down toward Murray Corner. What lap time is he going to manage? No, it's an invalid one. Another invalid lap. So, let's jump on board with Mr. Poor, who is making probably his penultimate qualifying lap today, given that he doesn't take a detour to the pits. So his current record is 2:11, a very formidable lap time. And he shaves a couple of tenths off of that lap time. Well done, sir. That was great racing from you. So as it stands, we have Poor in pole position, followed by Kanani, who's a Pro-Am or Silver driver, followed by Visor in third, Ostracharts in fourth, Jordan in fifth, Massey in sixth. That's another Pro-Am driver who's out on the circuit. Now, it's no new thing, but we should not be having Pro-Am drivers on the circuit today. I don't believe we have live stewarding, so this, I'm sure, will be raised by some drivers at the end. Let's take a look at car number 72. Who is Mr. Pryor? No, that's another one that should not be out on the circuit, so we're not going to give him the screen time. We'll take a look at car number 66. And Mr. Turner is going to convert his bottom of table result into a valid lap. Yep, there he goes. He's up to 7th place. Which puts him just ahead of Jordan, just behind Ostracharts. And we have 1 minute and 36 seconds left before the race starts. So let's stay on board with Mr. Turner. Let's just witness this absolute belter of a lap. Oh, he's pushing it. Coming through Skyline now. Very twitchy arms. Keep it balanced. Good work, Mr. Turner. Let's get a valid lap out of you. There he goes, flying down Conrod Straight now. Just creeping his time up by 1/10 nearly from his current best. Coming toward the end of Conrod Straight on to Chase. With that big old window sticker, you can't barely see the circuit. Here he comes, Murray Corner, the final corner. What is Mr. Turner going to secure? He crosses the line and he secures 7th position. We have a few more drivers on circuit. Still, Mr. Massey is on circuit. This should not be allowed. And Mr. Hanak, who is currently sitting in 4th. Coming up the mountain. Down the mountain now. Some very tight cornering. Very well controlled. On the edge. There he goes through Forest Corner. Or Forest Elbow rather. And onto Conrod Straight. chase. Very clean. This is looking to be a tidy lap, but I don't think it's going to be enough to put him up the table. Unless he takes Murray Corner quicker than he did last time. Oh, he finds 2/10. Is it going to be enough? Ah, it's not. He still keeps his 4th position. That's 4th position for Hanak. There he goes, celebrating his 4th position on the table. So with that, I am going to disappear and update a few things in the background. So once again, don't go anywhere. I will be back with some more entertainment and commentary for today's race. Welcome back. We are here watching a warm-up or full formation lap around Bathurst for round 2 of the GT4 Championship Season 2. Currently, it looks like Hanak. Oh, he just remembered his lights. It's night time, bro. And yeah, here we go. We are in for a nighttime race around this absolute helter-skelter of a circuit. do apologise. I'm going to have to sign out briefly with a be right back while I fix the lack of driver standing. So just bear with me, don't go anywhere. I will be back shortly. Okay, we are back. And we have all the screen information we need. So, it is freezing cold. It's 9 degrees on track and on ambient temperature as well. And it's clear, clear, and more clear skies. So, at least the executive committee of the weather in ACC this time has decided it's going to be all clear. But that does no favours for our tyre temperatures for our drivers. So, a little curveball. Which I hope our drivers are ready for 60 minutes of today's race. Coming towards the end of Conrod Straight in our formation lap. We will shortly be approaching Chase Corner and getting ready for an insane race. So it looks like Kanani has actually ended up in pits for reasons unknown. That puts them at a serious disadvantage at today's race. So, enough chat. We are getting ready to start this race. Not quite a green light. There we go. There's the green light. We're off round 2 at Bathurst. And currently, Paul is in the front, trailing behind his Visor and Hanak, followed by Mr. Pryor in the Pro-Am Silver. Oh, and we have someone that's just gone off, and that is Hanak, and Ostracharts is in the grass as well. Oh no, what a start. And that puts Hanak all the way back to 19th position. We have a position change with Redhead. He seems to have a little UFO antenna coming on his car there. I'm sure that's all intentional. And there's a few positions changes between Jordan and Massey fighting for 6th position. And Redhead and McElwain have exchanged positions towards the middle of the pack. Mr. Mayor has just taken Reynolds on the cutting. And we're currently approaching Solomon Park, where Reynolds has taken a position back from Mayer. Let's just take an onboard shot of what's going on here. And taking a look at his wing, I'm sure he has created quite a bit of distance between himself and Mayer as they approach Skyline now. There's a few more position changes between Worth and Fox, and Craddock towards the back of the pack. Let's just take an aerial shot just to get a better view of what's happening in the whole field there. Oh, someone's just gone slightly wide. There's a bit of a cluster going on there. Once more fighting towards the back. I believe that was... Well, it's really hard to tell, to be honest. It's probably between Haytham and Pennell. And yes, it was. There we go. So the pack's going to start settling down a little bit more. There's a few more position changes towards the back between Conti and Audsley, and Yates and Curtis. Curtis has quite a considerable gap, with Conti and Audsley sniffing up the back. So jumping on board, we can take a look at some of that action as they approach the kink of Comrade Straight. Oh, this is tight, this is tight. Oh, that was a lovely position change by Curtis there. Just taking an exterior shot. We have a few more position changes here. Conti has fallen back just a few places. For quite a few, actually. He went from 25th to 30th. Looks like he's having a bit of trouble with his car. He just got overtaken by Kanani there, who has to make quite a few. There's Hanak, who's currently in the pits as well. Quite a few changes up the grid. Mr. Fox has fallen back a few places. He was in 10th and he went back to 14th. And Haytham as well suffered quite the incident. So just jumping back to Fox there. Looks like he's having a battle there with Mitkus. Coming up the hill there, there's a little bit of door banging going on. Oh, who's that parked? Who is that? It's Mr. Reynolds. Let's just go back 15 seconds there and have a look at what happened. Oh, there's a bit of contact between himself and Worth. Let's just go back a further 15. Nah, let's jump back to the race in a moment. There he goes, back in the pits now. So the race leader is seeing a nice 3-second gap between himself and second place. That's Mr. Pryor. Weiser and Mayer are still battling it out, coming down the mountain now. Some very tight racing indeed. Just going on board, taking a look at the rear view mirror. Once again, Weiser has a nice gap between himself and Craddock. Worth appears to have entered the pits. And there is a battle between... Well, it looks like Craddock took a position on Mayer coming down the hill. It's very hard to keep up with this, I do admit. And it looks like there's quite a bit of damage on Mayer's bonnet there and on his windshield. One of his headlights is slightly out. You've got Mr. Fox coming up the outside of him. This is quite the bloodbath. And Yanis comes into the pits to make some repairs. Just taking a look at Kramer, who has quite the train of drivers behind him. He currently has 2 people both sides of him who looks like it's going to get sandwiched. But no, they give him the space he deserves. This is good. This is good, clean racing. Taking a look at how close is going on is Curtis. He's having a look. He's just taken a little step back there, but not without the cost of Kanani, who just overtook him with a very clean overtake. Pushing his way up the pack there. That puts Kanani in 18th. The top 15 seem to have settled down. There's a few close encounters going between Turner and Massey. Meanwhile, Mitkus, Hosko and Simmons. Hosko having a little bit of a wall kiss there and loses a position on Simmons. Coming down the hill into Skyline. And there's the chase coming down the hill there. Got Simmons very close behind there. And Fox just in front. Keeping it nice and tight to the wall. Keeping up with Fox as well. There's a position change between Kanani and Pennell toward the back. Where Pennell's just fallen back 8/10. I don't see Mr. Hewlett in the standings right now. I'm not sure where he's gone. So, as it stands, we have Paul that's still in first place with a very comfortable over 6 second lead on Pryor. And Pryor has a bit of a situation where Ostracharts is only 3/10 behind him in third place. I wonder if he's going to make a move on him coming out of the mountain or just continue to pressure Pryor as he comes down Comrod. We will keep an eye on that. Plenty more gap between Jordan, Turner and Massey, but Redhead is only just short of a second behind Massey, just observing what moves he's going to make next. So as it stands, we've got Paul that's in Pro category, is first position overall and first for Pro-Am, followed by Ostracharts in third but second for category, and Jordan fourth but third. Then we have Pryor, who is in second position, with Massey in sixth, Redhead in seventh, for both of them are second and third respectively for category. And then looking at Craddock, who is leading the Am category of drivers. We just had Simmons fall back slightly. Unsure what happened there. He might have had a wall kiss. So it's Craddock, Mitkus and Simmons in first, second and third respectively for category. Meanwhile, Hanak, our pro driver from, well, gold driver from Suzuka last week, who made quite a few controversial moves, shall we say. We have Conti and Manchip currently in the pits. So we'll just take a look at what happened there. Let's just go back to the replay. So just go on board and have a look. So we're just on board with Conti right now. Interesting. So there wasn't any indication as to what happened there, but nevertheless we're on board with Visor, who is making some moves up the pack. He is 8th position, but he's 3.5 seconds behind Redhead right now. As I said, the pack seems to have settled down, and Ostracharts seems to have made his move on Pryor as they climb up the mountain now. Ostracharts makes a little bit of distance, not quite a second clearance compared to last lap, but he's certainly holding his ground. Just creeping 1/10 after 1/10 in terms of distance away from Pryor there. Ostracharts, that was a little slip coming down the mountain there. All about composure. Very well defended. They come down Comrade straight now. Just towards the back, Stoppel and Bubbins have exchanged a few places there. Bubbins is having a good old sniff as he comes up the mountain. There goes Bubbins, taking a very wide, deep line through. Test the waters on Stoppel. Oh, Bubbins. Lost it. Oh, and he's just had a little bonk there. You don't need that, Bubbins. You don't need it. Unlucky, sir. There's been a position change between Visor and Redhead fighting for 7th position. There we go. Quite a few people in the pits. 6 drivers. It's quite a long time to be sat in the pits there. Looking at the battle between Mitkus and Audsley as they climb the hill. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a specific time window for when all of our drivers need to pit. And when that is a mystery to me. So we will see very shortly, I'm guessing within the next 3/4 of an hour. I'm sure it's not going to be in the last 5 minutes of the race. That would be the utmost Cruella de Vil move by our team here at HSR. Coming up through Salmon Park now. And they go into Skyline. To S's. This little kink here is called Dipper. Mitkus is holding a very tight line on Audsley there, fighting or defending his position for 12th. Just further up the pack between McElwain and Craddock. They are flying down the mountain right now. Oh, ate that curb a little bit too hard. Let's hope that's not a slow puncture that's just come out of that. There goes McElwain. That is the bane of his life, that corner, as we witnessed during practice. There's been a position change between Haytham and Alford. They are fighting hard coming through Chase. A lot of position changes there. Very good racecraft. Haytham hard on the brakes as he comes into Murray. Both driving Porsches, very evenly matched races. Let's see how that unfolds. We're currently 15 minutes, or just shy of 15 minutes, in today's race. It's been a lot of action, a lot of boinks, a lot of whoopsies. Just jumping on board an interior shot now. Coming up to Quarry Bend. And if you are just joining us, we are watching the HSR Motorsport and IFWL team up of the race championship, which is GT4 racing. This is season 2, round 2 at Bathurst. And it's the middle of the night. We've all got our lights on. Racing in the dark. Hoping no surprises loom on them as they're coming flying down this mountain. As it stands on the radar, we don't have any obstacles in anyone's way. We just had a position change between McElwain and Craddock. Oh, and Craddock has just slipped through there. We are witnessing some very close racing indeed. Taking an exterior shot. Do apologise. My race control is giving me some false readings. So looking at Mitkus and Audsley, this looks more like it. There's been quite the position change, just 5 seconds behind, or 5/10 of a second behind Audsley now. Looks like there was a slight error at Chase. Now they're making their way up the mountain. Meanwhile, there is a battle between Warburton and Curtis. To be honest, not much of one. And again, I apologise, that's quite the glitch. It seems like the positionings of some of our racers are not coming through on race control very well. Ah, there we go. I just reset my race control connection and it seems to be back to normal. So just jumping on board with Sven Poor. He is enjoying a lovely gap of 12 seconds from Ostercharts. Very fierce and consistent driver. Driving the Mercedes GT4. AMG, may I add. And it looks like he has a few back markers that he's going to contend with. And those back markers, well, I was expecting to see him in the list. But I can't see them because the numbers are so diddy on my other screen. So it is number 46. Number 46. Or was it 146? I think it's 146, yeah, it's Stoppel. Stoppel is just coming up the mountain there. He has the blue flag, he is aware, and he's let them past. Very good work there, Stoppel. And meanwhile, we have Ostercharts with a 3-second lead on Pryor. Pryor being in 3rd position, with Jordan just shadowing Pryor fairly closely, and there's quite a significant gap between Jordan and Turner, followed by Massey, Visor, Redhead, Craddock, McElwain. McElwain is doing what he can to defend himself from Hosco climbing the mountain now. Just taking a look at the rear wing action, see what's going on as they come up to Quarry Bend. Hosco giving him a little bit of space coming up through. Coming up towards cutting now. Oh, he's sliding through there. Keeping it nice and tight to the wall on the apex. And again, there's a back marker situation. And that's Pennell. He's letting McElwain through, and it looks like Hosco as well. Excellent work. Very clean racing. Admirable is the word. So there we go, down the mountain. Let's just get a bit of rear wing action. Watching that chase from Hosco. Oh, that's hairy stuff going down that mountain. And there we have it. The pit window's open. That is 40 minutes remaining of the race. And the pit window is open for 20 minutes. Hosco seems to be losing a little bit of distance on McElwain, but as he comes through the corner, it seems Hosco has a slight advantage. He's just gained 2/10 approaching Chase. So it looks like this is not McElwain's strongest section, as Hosco is much later on the brakes. He manages to retain that distance, actually snapping back another 10th. And there we have it. It's you can see the poetry in motion from an aerial shot between McElwain and Hosco. Hosco seems to be able to find a lot more time on McElwain, so I'm sure that he'll be making his moves towards the back end of the circuit. There's a few people that have gone into pits, taken an early pit stop. We have Pennell, who's just received 5-second penalty. Kramer is only 0.3 of a second behind Visor as they come down Conrod Straight, sucking up all and any slipstream he can muster. Oh, I do apologise, that wasn't Conrod, was it? That was Mountain Straight coming out Quarry Bend. And Kramer seems to be a little slower than Visor, which is expected considering the categories between those two. But Kramer is doing a fantastic job keeping up with Visor considering the disparity in category. Towards the front, we have in the 4th place battle, Turner is defending his place on Massey. Ginetta versus Aston. Who has the speed advantage coming out onto Mountain Straight? It does look like Turner has the advantage up the hill. But I stand corrected. Massey managed to take back a 10th. Massey seems to be quicker on the corner there as well. Turner seems to have a bit of better exit speed and entry speed as well, coming into cutting and out onto Griffin's Mount and Reed Park. Turner's not too far behind Jordan now. Only a second. Massey is 0.2 behind, having a sniff towards Skyline. Taking a look at that wing action. Chasing down the mountain now. Oh, Massey is having a good sniff there. He's given him a flash because he wasn't happy with that move. But you know what they say, Massey, if you're there first, it's all about snooze you lose. Turner had the corner. So now they're on Conrod Straight. And Massey is keeping super close. And it looks like... yeah, it looks like Jordan and Pryor had... oh, there goes... excellent work. So that was... couldn't really tell what happened there. It was, once again, race control was doing a little dance on my screen. But it looks like Massey is leading ahead of Turner. So there was a very good overtake manoeuvre. I'm sure you saw that. Pryor has entered the pits. So we're seeing a lot of folks now who have taken their pit stop and will no doubt be taking full advantage as all the front runners will be entering the pit lane. So between Fox and Alford, Alford's having a good old look. And Fox closes that down. Absolutely not, sir. I will hold my 11th place, thank you very much. So Fox approaches turn 1. That's Hell Corner. Retaining his 0.6 lead on Alford on Mountain Straight. Still keeping a bit of advantage on Fox in the first third of this circuit. Oh, Alford, that was quite the bang there. Might have knocked the sensors out of your Porsche in the process. Saw those lights blinking. Oof, he is pushing it. Is he going to retain control coming down the mountain? No, he doesn't. He's ended up crashing in the barrier. That is Alford in the barrier. Not an ideal situation. Let's just take a look at that replay there as he comes down the mountain. Oh, and he loses it just on the corner and crunch into the barrier. But he keeps going. He's still going there. And he's just overtaking a back marker. Fortunately, Alford does need to come into the pit. I do apologise, not a back marker, is it? That was Visor who overtook him. And his car seems to be suffering somewhat. So Alford will be taking a much needed pit stop, well timed, may I add. Meanwhile, Pryor is making his way up the grid. Mares, I believe he's just coming out of Forest's turn, or Forest Elbow. Coming down Conrod. He's currently in 19th position. And there's a few folks in the pit, so he might be able to gain a position on some of those drivers. No, it wasn't that corner, was it? It was, no, that was Mountain Straight he was on. So now he's just coming on to cutting. And we have a few more position changes towards the front between Redhead and Hosco. They are 7 and 8, no, 8 and 9 seconds behind each other respectively. There's a position change between Mitkus and Audsley. I'm assuming as he left the pit, Audsley managed to take the position on Mitkus, which is very unfortunate timing for Mitkus. And Turner has just fallen behind a touch as he comes out of the pits. So this is Mountain Straight. So again, it was a very unfortunate timing of pit exit where McElwain and Craddock took position. Oh, there's been a position change between Craddock and Mitkus towards the front. It looks like we have a back marker, which could be interesting as the race develops. Just jump on board with Craddock there. Very clean racing from the back marker. I do apologise, it's not a back marker, that's Audsley in front. And Mitkus is just under a second behind. It's quite a pack of them there. We're just over halfway through today's race, and Craddock is closing in on Audsley, coming in through Chase, taking a similar line but didn't fare as well, losing some very crucial tenths of a second coming up to Murray Corner. There we go. And Craddock loses some tenths, hitting Murray fairly hard. Mitkus is having a sniff. So as it stands, still poor in the front with a 48-47. He's just entered the pits and he's enjoying a nice gap between himself and Jordan, but nevertheless Jordan is closing down the seconds there as he's there doing his crucial pit stop. Jordan is herring his way down Conrod Straight. Is Poor going to leave the pits before Jordan? It looks like that's a no. No, Jordan is 22 seconds behind Poor. Absolutely no chance of that happening. Meanwhile, Craddock and Mitkus still fighting or defending 10th position, however way you look at it, with only 4 tenths behind. Currently down Conrod. Towards the back of the pack we have Curtis and Manchip. Manchip is having a good old go. Jumping on board so we get a nice aerial shot. It looks like Manchip has the exit speed. Oh, it's not Conrod, is it? This is Quarry Corner. Or Quarry Bend. Doesn't quite have it on Curtis. Now they're climbing up the mountain. Curtis and Manchip are both in the same category. And Manchip has got a little too close for comfort towards Curtis there. They approach Skyline now. Very stable driving coming down the mountain there. Just taking a look at Craddock and Mitkus. They are having quite the fierce battle. Currently climbing the hill. Oh, there's been an accident. There has been an accident. I'm not sure which car that was. Let's just go back a few seconds. So climbing the mountain, there's Mitkus and Craddock. We didn't catch that, unfortunately. That was quite a serious accident. So, looking between Massey and Visor, who are currently fighting for that 4th position. They are climbing the mountain. The cutting, to be precise. Very close racing. Jumping on board with Visor, hunting down Massey for that 4th position. Certainly not the place to be overtaking, but putting the pressure on. Really struggling to find grip. Oh, Massey is pushing it. Late braking, trying to get that distance. Very twitchy on the steering. Fantastic footwork and wheel work from both of them. Coming onto Conrod now. Is Visor going to try and get the slipstream? He makes an opening, he tries it. He's alongside. And he gets the position on him down Conrod. I wonder if that was just down to exit speed or the setup with a very low drag affair going on the McLaren. So there's White Visor. He's taken a position on Massey, now currently 4th with his competition 14 seconds ahead. Navigating a few back markers here. Looks like Fox has taken a pit stop. This is what his critical pit stop that he has needed. He is actually in 8th position, now 9th, and he is going to fall down the pack quite a lot. So here we have Mitkus, who seems to be taking a foray in the grass. So let's just take a look at that and see how that went on the mountain for both of them. So there we have Turner. Ooh! Ooh! Turner seems to have missed it. Just approaching Forest Corner, which scooped Mitkus up in the process. So there we go. Mitkus is entering the pits. Jumping over to Ruben Worth, who's currently climbing the mountain. Enjoying a 30-second gap in front and 28-second gap behind. Not counting Mr. Reynolds, who's currently in the pits. Behind that would be Mr. Warburton in 22nd place, who is just under a minute. So he is having a very leisurely drive up the mountain for sure. There's a very close race between Visor and Massey. Coming out of Hell Corner. It looks like Redhead is still yet to pit, and that pit window is 7 seconds away. Has Redhead missed his window of opportunity? He has. Redhead has missed his window, which I'm sure is going to upset the standings later on, and I'm sure Josh is going to contest it later. In terms of where he is, he literally just missed it. He's coming up. He's coming up Mountain Straight, so he would have been able to pit in time. But I think he just didn't get the memo. Okay, well, I'm sure that we're going to see the standings unfold later on. We'll keep an eye on Massey and Visor, just being conscious of keeping giving other people their airtime. So just taking a look at Turbanov, who's coming down Conrod now. He is currently in 28th. He has a drive-through, which may be a result of pushing track limits. He has a faster car, 2 faster cars approaching him, which I'm sure he's seen the blue flags. keep a stern look on what happens there. It does look like there's an OLR racer in the background. There's just a foreground shot of the pits, which there we go. So Max has just entered the pits there, which leaves our faster cars to speed past unscathed. So we're on board with those. Well, we're looking at Audsley right now as he comes up through chase. He's enjoying himself a nice gap in front and behind of 5 seconds and 5 seconds. So it's nicely evenly spaced. We're 17 minutes and, well, just 30 seconds, 17:30 left of today's race. And the standings by category is Paul in front in pole with the fastest lap time of today with 2 minutes 11 and 3/10, followed by Jordan and Visor, and that's all for gold category. Then looking at Pryor, Massey and Redhead in first, second, third respectively for silver category. And then taking a look at bronze, we have Craddock, Kramer and Mitkus in first, second and third respectively. We have a bit of a close call going on between Massey and Visor, who are fighting for that fourth position. Nothing to be too concerned for Visor right now. Taking a look at Curtis, who is racing for Fear Nothing Moto. He's racing all the way from the USA. I don't believe he's new to the race championship here for GT4 at HSR and IFWL, but he is a fierce contender in the bronze category. Also enjoying a nice lead on Mr. Mello, with a bit of a stooge sandwich going on between Warburton and Mello, and then Manchip just to make the club sandwich. Oh, something's happened with Craddock. I don't know if it's my race control playing tricks again. It may well be. But nevertheless, he is 1 second behind Audsley. I think my race control is being as slow as me at the moment. There goes Hosco approaching Hell Corner. As they make that arduous climb up the mountain. Track and ambient temperatures have climbed by 2 degrees since the start, so hopefully our drivers have factored that in. It seems that they have, because all our drivers have a very stable race right now. There goes Hosco making his descent into Skyline and to S's. Losing a bit of time on Audsley. I believe Audsley is creeping ahead just a little bit in the Ginetta ahead there. So some of our viewers on our YouTube channel have quite rightly pointed out that Redhead seems to be the odd one out who hasn't taken their pit stop, so it hasn't gone unnoticed. I'm sure we'll see the outcome of that after today's race. Apologies for the long pauses. I'm actually enjoying a not so handmade freezer pizza while I am commentating for you, but I'm sure you wouldn't like to hear all those lovely noises of mastication down the airways. So we are just shy of our 10-minute mark with 11 minutes and 37 seconds left of today's race. Alford seems to have taken a pit stop again. Not for any reason to do with any drive-throughs. It may have been damage sustained. And Paul is still enjoying his very luxurious drive around Bathurst with a 38.5 second lead on Jordan. Positions are stable. There's still a Stooges club sandwich between Warburton, Mello and Manchip as the Three Stooges, and then Curtis is somewhere in the middle of that sandwich. But there's no pressure from either of them, and there you can see over the horizon there the sun is just creeping up, so dawn is about to crack on our drivers. You can still see the nice starry night. If it were true, then this place has very low light pollution in real life. For any stargazers would be a fantastic opportunity. But be sure to wrap up warm, as I'm sure that this is a very cold environment to just be sitting around in. Especially at night, it's 11 centigrade, so if you do plan on doing it in real life, make sure you wrap up. Just jumping on board with Mr. Mello, making the climb with Mitkus just in the background now. I believe he is a race leader, so I'm sure that he will get the blue flag announcement. There it is. Mr. Mello's driving has come on leaps and bounds. He is very much exploring the ways of Motec. He's been doing his research and having a fantastic time with maintaining his race consistency and prowess. Not just in GT4 either, over at the GT3 races on HSR, he's been doing a very good job of maintaining his race pace. Jumping on board with the good sir himself. There you go, the dawn is creeping up ever so slightly more. We are over that 10-minute threshold now, so now it's crunch time. We have Hatton and Topple driving particularly close to one another as they climb up the mountain. And with just over 8 minutes left, I can't imagine there's any more room for errors. So let's keep it clean, boys. Jumping on board with Stoppel now. We can hear the nice low hum of that KTM. It looks like Haytham has actually gotten a bit of distance on Stoppel there. Looks like there's a back marker in the distance there. Towards the front of the pack between Fox and Hanak. Fox is defending his 10th place from Hanak, coming out of Forrest's corner. I keep getting that wrong, it's Forrest's elbow, isn't it? So there we go, we are not even on Forrest's elbow. That's actually Solman Park. I always get confused with the positions of pit cars on tracks. So this is actually approaching Skyline and onto S's, and you can really see Hanak piling the pressure on Fox there. Hanak knows about crunch time now. We are looming on 5 minutes remaining, which means we've got a good probably 4 minutes left, or 4 laps left before the checkered flag, and Hanak is really being ambiguous about what he's doing right now. He's just sticking a headlight out of the edge, and a slight little wink from Fox's headlight suggests he's got a little bit of onboard damage. So he is holding his line. He's defending. He's not flinching. He's defended through chase very well. Here he comes onto Murray. Both very competent racers. Let's see how they come out of this corner. And there goes Hanak, just teasing Fox just a little bit. And Dawn is just about to crack. At the 5-minute mark of this race. Oh, Hanak has been rough and tumbled through today's race. He is so desperate for that 10th place to secure his position on the standings, at least for the top 3. Oh, Hanak is really pushing him. Coming up towards Hanak. Oh, and he's just taken him. Approaching Skyline. What's going to happen here? Looks like Fox has backed off a touch. Coming into Skyline towards S's. Looks like Hanak just was a bit too much for Fox coming down the mountain. And didn't want to risk any accidents whatsoever. We have a few more folks in the pits. That's Kanani, Ostracharts and Pennell. Looks like it's not been their race today either. Between Redhead and Audsley, just climbing up the mountain there, and Dawn has cracked. And isn't that Skyline beautiful? Love to visit that place. And here we have two open lobby racing competitors sporting similar liveries. He's going on board with Redhead as he tackles the downhill portion. And just keeping you updated on the rest of the pack, we have just over 2.5 minutes remaining of today's race. And Sven Poor is still maintaining a 48-second lead on second place, which is with Jordan in the Camaro. That is quite the lead. Which is now 51 seconds according to the telemetry data that you see on your screen. Redhead is just very slowly pulling away from Maudsley in that Ginetta there. It seems Worth has entered the pits as well for engine troubles or car troubles. So that's 5 folks in the pits right now. Just jumping on board to Craddock. And as you heard, the leader is on the final lap. So crunch time. We have a few folks who are testing each other's boundaries. Redhead and Audsley are no doubt going to be having a go, albeit camaraderie on the circuit, but all's well that seems well for now. And Poor is leading a very, very comfortable race, as I've mentioned a few times. Just hunting down a back marker there. He has the blue flag signal. And that is Redhead. And Poor is squeezing through the pack there. Enjoying himself a very nice ride indeed, kicking his back end out there. At this point I think he's just having fun as he comes down the mountain. Taking an interior shot. So if Sven Poor maintains this consistency in the next 3 corners, he is going to see himself another race win. Coming up to chase, he has a back marker, but I don't think it's of anything to be concerned about. And the back marker takes the pits, rather the grass, the green. So onto the last corner there, and that's Murray tackling the final corner and taking pole position here at Bathurst. Excellent race there, excellent race. So Jordan is yet to cross the line as he comes down Conrod. And Pryor is not too far behind him, 1.6 seconds in that Ginetta. Here we go, we're approaching Murray, claiming the last few seconds of their race. There we go, over the finish line. That leaves Jordan second to Poor in first. And there's Visor with quite a lot of damage. He's just spun out. Oh! And there's an accident on Mitkus. And these are the closing seconds. Visor is having an incredibly bad time. Making sure he's clearing out all the markers. Taking that final... Oh, missing the final 50. Is he going to manage to get over that finish line before Audsley arrives? Looks like his steering is completely gone. Yeah, he can't turn left. You can only turn right, it seems. Yeah, there you go. So is that his race upset? Is that... It doesn't look like it is, because he has maintained his 5th position. There he goes. Is he just going to bump himself over the line now? There he goes. Just crawling over the line in 5th position. Which leaves Stoppel crawling down the mountain. Barely hanging on. He is... Oof. That's going to leave a mark. So he's crawling his way down the mountain after a hell of a battle on the mountain here today. And that's it. That is the race complete. So today we have seen quite the conflict on the mountain that we were all expecting to see, but which car it was all a mystery to anyone. In the standings we have, for the gold category, we have Poor in 1st with an incredibly comfortable race. There was just no one to compete with him on the circuit today. Followed by Visor in 2nd. And I'm losing drivers on the screen, so I can't really give you an accurate rundown. But we have Pryor, Massey and Hosco 1st, 2nd and 3rd respectively. Followed by Craddock, Mitkus and Wirth in 1st, 2nd and 3rd for bronze. So there we have it. That was our race. Quite eventful. I'm sure we're going to have a few protests. Not to anyone's fault as such, I would say, just from an observation point of view. It's more of a control thing, because there's a lot of corners that really upset the balance of the car. But nevertheless, that was a very difficult race for all of our drivers today. So next week we're going to see you probably, just reminding myself, at Laguna Seca. And that is going to be a two lots of 30-minute sprint. It's a very hairy circuit indeed. Much like Bathurst, but a little bit more friendly. So, there we have it. That was Bathurst GT4 Championship Season 2. And it's been brought to you by HSR Motorsport and ifwl.net. Well, thank you for watching, and if you are just watching as someone who may want to participate in the race, we will have spots in the next season for GT4 racing. We have to ask you to come over to either the IFWL or HSR Discords and register your interest towards the end of the season. And don't delay, it's going to come around incredibly quick. But if you take a look at our SimGrid page, there will be more information about when the season is going to end. After the last race, that's when the doors are likely going to open for the next season. So thank you for watching, and I will no doubt be hearing from everyone next week. Have a lovely week. See you then.